One crash, two continents, and 20 years of falling prices and broken hope. This is the Long Depression, a financial crisis that happened and shook the whole world. It started on May 9, 1873, when the Vienna Stock Exchange crashed. Why? That was because of a huge speculative bubble created during the Gründerjahre, which meant Founders' Year. After Germany unification in 1871 and advance payment of 5 billion as a war reparation, money flooded into Austria-Hungary and Germany. Investors rushed into railroads, steel mill and real estate business. Prices soared and some even just doubled in 2 years. Everyone thought this boom would stay forever. But the boom was built on a shaky ground. Finally, railroad construction slowed, profit fell, and credit tightened. Banks had lent aggressively without strong reserve, and finally the moment came on May 9 when the panic selling began. Within days, hundreds of companies just failed and bank had suspended payment, and now this was the start of the crash. The shock spread across Europe and then to America. Finally on 18 September 1873, a famous company, Cooke Co, a famous bank actually, which was loaded with railroad bonds, finally collapsed. New York Stock Exchange was shut down for 10 days, and this was the time when the US actually entered its longest downturn. Monetary policy made things worse. Germany abandoned silver coins and moved on to the gold. US followed with the Coinage Act of 1873, which later on people called Crime of 73. Due to this reason, silver lost its value, credit dried up, and the debt became hardened to pay. What was started as a crash turned into a 20 years of struggle. Now, politically, during that time, Otto was the leader in Germany, Goldstone was in Britain, and Ulysses was in US. They were fighting over the tariff, gold versus silver, and trade policies. Right at the same time, farmers and the workers, they were demanding easy money, while in Europe, protectionism was rising. However, the Britain was allowing only the free trade along with expansion of its empire. Economically, prices fell 30%, unemployment hit between 8 to 14%, and 98 banks failed during this panic. Now, this was the time when 89 railroad companies went bankrupt, even as steel and telegraph advanced. So this was the progress which was mixed with pain. In terms of impact, between 1873 to 1879, only in America, 18,000 businesses failed, 89 railroad companies collapsed, unemployment soared. This was the time when Britain lost its industrial leadership and deflation continued in late 1890s. Right at the same time of 1873, Walter Bagehot wrote, "Lend freely at a penalty cost with a good collateral." His advice could have been followed, but only there were few countries who actually followed it, and they saved their self. So the lesson we learned from this crisis is that deflation can happen when the industry is growing. However, it crushes debtors and banks, and the central strong bank could prevent the long slumps. So there needs to be always a central bank having regulated rules for all other banks to follow so that they lend money with care.